All right. Thank you, everybody, for being with us tonight. Looks like we have another packed house this month. We have some special guests here that we're going to hear from shortly. We actually have some really good presentations this month, but we're going to start with an invocation. Chaplain Stanley, if you could get us started off.
It's good to be with you tonight. Would you join me in an invocation? As we gather this evening, we ask God for your guidance. There are many gifts in this room that reflect your ongoing work in this world. God, I pray your blessings on the people with vision who can dream dreams so we can touch the world in our community, who have deep hurts and constant pain. God, I pray your blessings on the organizers and the leaders who can see gifts and talents in others and how they can bring people together in ways that bring new life and energy to familiar systems. God, I pray your blessings on the minders of details, the people whose gifts help us to be responsible stewards of our precious and limited resources. As we gather together, we come as friends with common purpose. Though there's business to be conducted, we acknowledge our concerns. For the hurts that each of us know within ourselves and within our family members, we pray for your Spirit's presence in each situation that will bring the strength and the healing that's needed for today. God, there are friends of this board and board members who are grieving. You know those situations. We remember them to you as well. Provide additional measures of your grace in those situations that will bring comfort to broken hearts and lost hopes. And for the people of Brussels, whose lives have been touched by the violence of terrorism and war, we have a special connection. Just as unexplainable as the horror of bombs that are meant to create a world of nightmares. Allow the strength of the human spirit through patience and kindness and love, prove stronger and more resilient than any evil used to create hate and fear. And God, on this Holy Thursday, and particularly this week, we thank you for the stories of our faith that bring us hope and new possibilities. For the food that we've shared and for the fellowship that we experience, we thank you for the ways that it nourishes our bodies and blesses our spirits. For these things we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Chaplain. I think everybody should have a copy of the agenda in front of them and should have gotten it electronically earlier in the week. So do we have any additions? I think everyone's here for all of our special presentations. So with that, we'll get right into it. Congressman Fleischman is with us here today, and we spent some time with the congressman and some of the people in his office in D.C. about a couple months ago. And I think we all, it's going to be a great reminder of what we're doing here at the hospital. This is a community hospital. We're helping the community. Congressman Fleischman is serving the community up in D.C., and we have a lot of overlap. And it's probably a lot of it's not seen at meetings like this, but there's a lot of work and a lot of back and forth between his office and the team here. So I wanted to give this opportunity to the congressman to update us, tell us some things, and with that, you're welcome to go up to the podium. Is it live, Katie? You're welcome to go up there, or you can stand, whatever works for you.
Right here? Is that good?
Yes.
Okay.
Just be careful of the wires.
Okay, that's right. Thank you. Chairman Scooter, thank you very much. And to the entire board and the Erlanger staff, thank you for the great privilege of being with you tonight. And to all of our guests, thank you for being here. It's an honor to represent you in the House of Representatives. I just flew in a few hours ago from Washington, and we had a busy week. But when Jack came to see me, Josh, about a month and a half ago, we sat down and we talked about Erlanger. And tonight I want to talk a little bit about what Erlanger means to me, what I think Erlanger means to our community, and really to thank each and every one of you all for your commitment to Erlanger, because this is a great regional health center. It's incredible. My three sons, were born at Erlanger. They're 27, 25, and 19. A couple weeks ago, one of my sons was ill. I didn't hesitate to take my son to Erlanger. The diagnostic and treatment tools, the team, the treatment was exceptional. Last year, my middle son was ill and developed Barrett's esophagus. He was treated and diagnosed here. I didn't hesitate to come to Erlanger. Coming here tonight, I saw my good friend, Dr. Philip Barnes, incredible surgeon. About 25 years ago at Erlanger, he saved my father's life. He had an aortic aneurysm, which was detected. My dad died a couple of years ago, but because of his skill and because of Erlanger, we got an extra 20 some odd years with him. I guess the reason I wanted to talk to you about that is because when we talk about Erlanger and what we do, we can look at maybe a very stoic picture of a regional health center. But the reality is Erlanger is treating and helping people and is such a key part of our community. It's a great asset. I want to talk about the role that Erlanger has had in my role in Congress. When I came to Congress, Erlanger was not a part of the federal pool. It was left out. Nashville General was in. The Med in Memphis was in. Two wonderful healthcare facilities. Erlanger was left out. The Erlanger team, led by Kevin, Steve, and others, came to see me. They did what they were supposed to do. And I want the board members to know that the Erlanger staff has consistently come to see me and educate me on the issues that are important to Erlanger so that I can advocate for Erlanger. And when I talk to school groups, I can think of no better example of what Erlanger does and what my role is as a representative. Let's face it, what is a member of Congress? I'm your representative. And you bring me issues, and I'm here to advocate for those issues. And it's been a privilege to advocate for Erlanger. Erlanger is now in the federal pool. That was a net of about $20 billion a year, 30 gross after the offset 20. That's made a world of difference in this hospital. But it just didn't happen. It happened because you hired the right people, you had the right board, you had the right representatives. Senator Corker deserves a tremendous amount of that credit. But we all work together. That's the way it's supposed to work. Take the politics out of it. Take an issue like Medicare wage index. Kevin has spoken to me at length about that. We all know that that's not a Republican or Democratic issue. It's a regional issue. And it's something that unfortunately favors healthcare facilities sometimes that don't get it right and who are inefficient. Well, Erlanger's been efficient. So we're working federally to change that. Again, not a Republican or Democratic issue, a regional issue that needs to be addressed for the good of our community. In closing, I want to say this, and by the way, I'm here with two fine staffers. Michelle, say hello. It's Michelle Harstein. She is my Chattanooga field rep. Bob White, he's my district deputy chief. Work very closely with me. But Jack, you're right. My DC staff is top flight. They get on the issues that Erlanger brings to us, and it's not just once every 6 months. Erlanger's in my office, if not every month, very close to that, constantly bringing me issues. Tonight, while I was here, your head of cardiology said, Chuck, here's an issue that's very important to us. I'd like you to look at it. Guess what? It will be done tomorrow. So the relationship could not be better, and you've got to be active. One of the young doctors here tonight, we talked about him doing his public policy internship with Kevin. That's so important, because he wasn't in his white smock tonight. He was in his suspenders, looked real sharp. He's back there. And doctor, that's incredible. He's from Ottawa. But he's learning about the interaction with your public officials. It's critically important. I know of no other institution right now in my district that does a better job than Erlanger. It's critical. It's communication. It's education. And to the board. We've got great professional staff, but to the board. Many of you all I have known in my other life. I see Phil Smart there. Gosh, I've probably known you, Phil, probably about 25 years. But so many of y'all I've known for so long. ComEd. Thank you. You're volunteering your time, your resources. You have a fine young man in Jack Studer who stood up and said, look, I'm going to lead. I'm going to take this. And what did he do? He came to see me. He sat down, and we worked through all of your issues. That's the way it's supposed to work. So thank you for the privilege of representing you. We've got work to do. We've got to stay in the federal pool. We can never be static. We're in a very dynamic world. We're in a very competitive world. And I want to be part of the Erlanger team moving forward so that we continue to be one of the greatest healthcare systems in America. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
And now, Mr. Hollis. Thank you, Congressman. Thank you for coming.
I'd like to call on Dr. Wheeler and his wife to come up, if I could. Many of you all perhaps already know Dr. Wheeler. He's been a dentist working here in health centers for over 40 years now. And this is a very interesting occasion because Dr. Wheeler is retiring. He's retiring, as I understand, at the end of this month. I'm sure Dr. Wheeler is very excited about it, very happy about it, but I'm sure there's a lot of people at the health centers that are a little sad to see him leave. He's been there as long as he has been employed as a dentist. And so it's a very exciting occasion for him, and I guess a little bit sad for some of us that have got to know him. Dr. Wheeler began at Erlanger in 1975. Now, that's an interesting date for me because that's the date that I moved to Chattanooga, but as a young accountant. But Dr. Wheeler's been employed, and during that entire time, he has served at the health centers here at Dodson Avenue and at Southside. Prior to that, he spent a short time working for the state of Tennessee in public health. He graduated from the University of Tennessee in Memphis, the medical school, dental school in Memphis, in September 1974. He's a doctor of dental surgery. And then prior to that, he graduated, his undergraduate work was done at the University of Tennessee, and he graduated with a degree in economics. I don't know if you need economics to get from there to dentistry, but somehow or other, it seems to work out. And Kevin, keep that in mind, because at some point, you never know what we're going to do. Dr. Wheeler was awarded the Thomas E. Bailey Senior Memorial Achievement Award in April of 2012. And then later, a couple of years later, he received the Hamilton County, Tennessee Board of Commissioners Outstanding Community Servant Award in August of 2014. He's got professional memberships in the Erlanger Hospital of Medical Staff since 1981, American Dental Society, and the Chattanooga Area Dental Society. Dr. Wheeler enjoys taking his granddaughters to the grocery store shopping. I'm not sure I would like that, but for some people I think that would be a very interesting experience. And then cooking Sunday dinner. That's another one of those things that I find to be very, very interesting. He has 3 grandchildren, all under the age of 2. That would be a challenge for somebody getting ready to retire. He also enjoys yard work, and he and his wife hope to do a lot of traveling in their retirement. Dr. Wheeler, we want to thank you for all of your faithful service to us, and we appreciate that. And we now have a little... take note of this.
Let me read this. It says, James Wheeler, dentist, in recognition of 41 years of service to the Erlanger Health System and the patients of Dodson Avenue Community Health Center. Congratulations. Thank you.
There you are. Now, Rob has another special presentation. I'm not going to steal your thunder.
Yeah, one of the great things that Erlanger does every year is we recognize our employees with service of 30 years and beyond. And this year we have a young gentleman that has worked at Erlanger for 50 years. So we're tonight going to honor Mr. Roosevelt Blanton. He's going to join us up here at the front. He's here with his wife and son. Roosevelt, come on up. And we had the pleasure of having a reception for Roosevelt earlier this week that we did with Sodexo, with our cafeteria staff, where he has worked for 50 years now. So, yeah, get right up here in the middle. So, Roosevelt's lived here in Chattanooga his entire life. He started here on March 7th, 1966. His manager told him on his first day, "Welcome to the Food and Nutrition Department. You'll have a job as long as you always give 100%. So we know he must have done that and done it very good. One of his most memorable moments, other than meeting his wife here in Chattanooga, was being able to start going to the service awards. And for all of you who've been to them before, Erlanger gives away gifts, and I believe now gift cards, but he's been to so many of these service awards, he's actually acquired 6 TVs from Erlanger. For the upcoming Sweet 16 game tonight. So, one thing that he thinks has made it for him to go on so well is loving what he does, taking pride in being on time, making sure that he's always here to serve our patients. And so we really want to thank him for everything he's done. Does not plan on retiring anytime soon. And his daily prayer to the Lord is, "Please help me work another 50 years." So, we want to thank you very much.
Don't know how to put words into action, but I know how to do it or how to say it. But for the last 2 days, I have really been lifted up. I've been filled up. I've been had joy. I've been having, and within my heart, I wanted to thank everybody that had anything to do with making this turn out to be like it was, and make me feel as good as I feel. I will always treasure this in my heart, and the card they gave me, or the board they gave me yesterday with everybody on it, I'm gonna find somewhere to put it in. I can always look up at it. But like I say, from the whole staff, from Mr. Spiegel, from the board and everybody, this has really made me feel wonderful, feel good inside. And I can definitely go toward my job now, and on down, still looking forward to doing the best I can do. Thank you.
Yeah, one more. Yeah, one more. Oh, you look rough. That's all great. That's a lot of great
It is not over yet. I'm going to ask Glenn Fowler to make his way up front. As he's coming up, it's my great pleasure and honor to recognize Kenneth Fowler. Kenneth is a certified monitor technician and a registered cardiovascular tech. And he has also been at Erlanger Medical Center for 50 years. A few facts about Kenneth and just a few observations, if you don't mind. Okay. First and foremost, Kenneth is the person that you will see if your physician or cardiologist sends you for a Holter monitor test for your heart. He's wearing his red. Okay, Ken is a very kind person that focuses on the patient and ensures that the patient understands how a Holter monitor works. When asked about some of his memories throughout the past 50 years, this is what he shared. Erlanger is the only place that he has ever worked, and he began his career right out of high school in 1966. Okay, Kenneth has served in that same role during this time, so it's safe to say Erlanger has become his home away from home. As you might imagine, he has seen everything in those 50 years. And this is some exciting stuff here, including meeting celebrities. I gotta figure out when these people were here and what was going on. Might get a little HIPAA involved, so I won't ask too much. But celebrities like Greg Allman was in the hospital, Cher, and Jim Neighbors, better known as Golden Powell. So you got some good stories, I am sure. Ken was also the first male to work in his department, and that's back in the day. One of his favorite memories is the time he wore the captain's hat for the Erlanger's third shift walking team. Ken is quick to joke around and make people laugh, and that's very special when you're in this business because he meets people at a very vulnerable time, scary time in their life. They have lots of questions, I'm sure, for him. So he goes above and beyond every day to make them feel comfortable. Kenneth, that's what makes you world class, and we appreciate you. So thank you for touching the hundreds of patients that you have and the staff here at Erlanger. We appreciate you. Now, Ken was given gifts on Saturday night at the awards banquet, but we wanted to honor him here with the board, and we just really appreciate it.
When I was a child, my twin sister and I were asked what we wanted to be when we grow up. Not that we are grown. But she wanted to be a beautician and I wanted to work at her. She's a beautician. I applied for my first job here when I was 13. Mr. Walker had it, told me to come back when I was old enough. I have, not that I'm old enough, but I've been here ever since.
Well, that's the kind of stuff we like to talk about. That's 50 years. That's amazing. All right, now we're going to get back to the boring stuff. Everybody should have a copy of the minutes from last month's meeting in front of you, dutifully prepared by the staff. If everything looks in order, I will entertain a motion for said minutes. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? With that, the minutes from last month passed. And we'll move on to our committee and subcommittee reports. Mr. Haas, did Budget and Finance meet this month?
We did not meet.
Did not meet. Okay. Dr. Kern, Joint Conference? Oh, actually, Dr. Kern's not here. Does anyone from the Joint Conference Committee know if we met or not? We did meet, but no,
We did meet.
no items. Okay. Did Planning Committee meet?
We did not.
Did not. Audit and Compliance, Mike?
We did not meet.
Did not meet. And Jennifer, did any of your committees meet?
One reminder, Mr. Webb is now the chair of Legal Committee. I am not sure if they met or not. We did not meet then, thank you. And the other two committees did not meet.
Okay.
Legal committee, Jack did meet, but there's no report.
No reports. Okay. And that
Thank you, Jen.
is reflected by the fact that we don't have a consent calendar or any motions this month to review. And as far as I know, we also don't have any unfinished business, but if anyone has anything they want to bring up with that. You have your informational reports, and with that, I'll move to the Chief of Staff's report. I don't see Dr. Kern here. Did he send anything to be reported? Well, okay. All right, with that, Dr. Ford, do you have anything for us from UTCOM?
Yes, sir, I do. Resident Match Day occurs each year right around St. Patrick's Day, and it occurred last week. And I'm just very pleased to report that all of our positions for new residents were filled, and we're expecting a new group of interns to report the end of June and hit the floors July 1st. Also, just a quick update on the dean search. I've been reporting on numbers for the past several meetings. We're down to 5 finalists, and those 5 finalists have been invited for on-campus interviews. Now, their names have been widely distributed, so I believe I'm free now to tell you who those finalists are. The first one will be visiting on Monday for a day and a half, and we'll be interviewing the balance of the candidates throughout April. So our candidates are Dr. Michael Bronze, who is chairman of internal medicine at the University of Oklahoma. Dr. Fernando Ferrer, who's chairman of pediatrics and is also the executive vice president of the Connecticut Children's Medical Center. Dr. David Lewis, who is chairman of the Department of OBGYN at the University of South Alabama. Another candidate from the University of South Alabama, Dr. Bill Richards, who's chairman of surgery. And finally, Dr. Bruce Shack, who's chairman of plastic surgery at Vanderbilt. So we'll be concluding those interviews around the 1st of May. We'll be making a recommendation probably by the early part of May, and we expect that the dean who is hired will need and want about 90 days or so to get here. So I think we're still going to meet our goal of having a new dean by Labor Day.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ford.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Spiegel. Report.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. I want to personally acknowledge Congressman Chuck Fleischman for coming here. The working between Washington, both on the congressional side and our Senate side, we're really blessed to have really 2 spectacular senators, Bob Corker and Lamar Alexander, who we meet with on a regular basis, and their advocacy, not only with the board, but for the patients that we serve throughout our region, it's instrumental with their leadership. And we thank Congressman Fleischman for his service, not only for our region, but for our country. And we thank him. I also want to acknowledge Dr. Wheeler, Mr. Fowler, and Mr. Glanton for their service to our hospital and the patients we serve. That, you know, when you hit these 50-year marks, these are historic. And I think that we had approximately 500 recipients. Rick Youngblood and Phil Smart were at this ceremony. The attendance was unbelievable, and that's kind of a tribute to kind of the chemistry that's going on at Erlanger. I also want to acknowledge Mr. Tyler Walker, who is a fourth-year medical student. He's doing his policy rotation with me this month. And as a fourth-year medical student in the match this year, we just want to acknowledge that Tyler matched in emergency medicine for this July, and he was chosen to come to Erlanger. So congratulations. Another accomplishment in a healthcare executive's life, and that is achieving board certification status and becoming a fellow of the American College of Healthcare Executives. And with this year at convocation ceremony, we had 4 executives who achieved this milestone in their career. Britt Tabor, Tanner Goodrich, Don Mueller, and Adam Royer. And we want to acknowledge your contribution, and also to thank Rick Youngblood, who also went all the way to Chicago for this ceremony. And we had a reception in Chicago as well, and it was well attended. We have officially filed a certificate of need application for a behavioral health hospital here. We're still doing our due diligence, but I just want to give the board a quick update. We are exploring this feasibility study with Arcadia, who is a Nashville-based mental health company. They have approximately 500 facilities nationwide, and we are exploring this, and as the information comes a little closer, Britt and myself will come forward with the board. I also want to acknowledge the entire EPIC team for their passion for really transforming the IT infrastructure here at Erlanger, working with our physicians and the technical aspect. We have been evaluated by their implementation, and it is going extremely well. It's probably one of the most challenging parts. We have a lot of parts going on at one time, but this is probably the most challenging part. But I just wanted to acknowledge all the activities that are going on with that. Doctor's Day is approaching. It's March 30th. And we congratulate all the physicians in our region for that. Mr. Chairman, that's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Spiegel. I don't think we have any additional reports from, oh, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Spiegel, your comment on the con for the behavioral health part of the hospital reminded me to ask, there's been some talk in Nashville of doing away with the con for certain types of services and activities, and I'm just curious if you can say a little bit more about what's going on there.
You know, it's one of those things that's really fluid and is everything from eliminating all CONs to targeting some things that will impact the health of this community. Our biggest concern is who is going to deal with the uninsured if you just do away with CONs altogether. But I still think that both the House and the Senate are actively engaged. The bills keep moving around quite a bit, but I do believe mental health will still be part of that, or a new hospital will probably still be in there. I think modernizing is probably a very good part of this bill, that some financial thresholds are really low, which causes both legal representation to apply for a CON probably unnecessary. So modernization is absolutely needed in this area, and that we fully embrace. But
So that doesn't affect like the current CON process though at all?
It doesn't.
Okay. And
Well, in the future, yes.
The future, but not for the
ones
behavioral
you
health?
current- right,
Okay.
right.
Perfect. By the way, I just want to applaud our focus on behavioral health. I think it's fantastic and a much needed service in the community.
It's one of the most unmet
Yep.
needs, not only of this community, but most communities, not only in Tennessee, but throughout the country.
Thank you.
Questions or comments? everyone can see your upcoming committee meetings. We are going to adjourn upstairs and do our credentialing very briefly.
Jeff, I have a question.
Yes, absolutely, sir.
Brett, did you do the report on the charity loss?
No, but I can, yeah.
Well, I have some questions on that. if I may. We lost $6 million this month, in February, right?
For,
Month of February, right at $6 million. A total of almost $57 million for the year.
yeah.
If my
we're at-
calculations are correct, we're down over last year. Is that correct?
Yeah, if you annualize it, it comes out between 80 and 85 million.
Yes.
And we're about 85 million last year.
When it comes to TennCare, and a patient comes to the hospital, do we lose money on each of those situations? Do we break even? How do we do on TennCare?
In most situations, TennCare is a loss because they usually pay around 80% of total its cost. You usually can use that as a rule of thumb. So you're getting about 80% of cost. Medicare, you're getting pretty much at cost. And then, of course, on your commercial patients, you're getting above cost. And then your indigent, obviously, we're getting zero reimbursement other than the monies that we get from the special pools that Congressman Fletcher talked about earlier.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any other questions? That was a good one. With that, we will adjourn, but my trustees don't run off on me. We do have some credentialing to do upstairs.